Okay, so talking about nutrition, now I'm curious to talk to you about supplementation. I'm generally not a huge supplementation guy. I got paid to sell supplements for a long time, so I have a bit of an aversion to that industry. However, I do think that supplements play a key role, and you and I both have a supplement that we really, really love, which is creatine. Can you talk a little bit about what creatine is and why you are so in love with it?
Yeah, so talk on supplementation. I went a couple of years where I wasn't, really taking anything except for creatine, and then I started having some magnesium here and there. And when I speak of supplements, just kind of like speaking to diet, medical keto versus fitness keto versus fad keto, there's kind of some parallels with supplements. Like I'm not into things like Test Booster 6900 or whatever all this crazy stuff is. When I'm looking at supplements, I'm looking at something that actually supplements my food intake, something that is already in the food, but maybe in higher quantities. And some of that could be because as we've seen, for example, with magnesium, that a lot of foods that were once higher in magnesium are now are now insufficient in it, just because of how agriculture and the world has evolved. But yeah, to go back to creatine, that is something where you can get good amounts of it in eating red meat. And a lot of people will say, oh, you don't need to supplement creatine on top of red meat. And if you know anything about me, is that I eat a ton of red meat. I did that Texas Steakhouse Challenge, the big Tex, and ate 4.5 pounds there in about 18 minutes. And I still take creatine, and I notice a significant difference when I take it and when I don't. And the reason being, even though you're getting creatine through meat, some of it's degraded when you cook it, and it takes longer to assimilate into the muscles rather than if you were to just supplement it. So I like to combine natural, healthy habits with modern science and technology to go above and beyond what the body can do with creatine, just getting it from natural sources. So when you supplement creatine, that's keeping your creatine stores in your muscles saturated throughout the day to a level that they're not going to be saturated if you were just going to be eating a lot of meat. So that amount of creatine in your muscles there, that's helping with recovery. That is helping you with performance in the gym, which is why on lift days, I like to take my creatine, about 30, 45 minutes before I get in the gym. And just keeping your creatine levels elevated throughout the day rather than depleting throughout the day in the same manner they would if you were to get it just through food. So I've gone times where I haven't taken creatine at all. I've gone times where I've just taken creatine on lift days. I've had times where, I just sporadically forgot I had creatine, so I took it all over the place. And then I've had times where I, took it very, very consistently, where I'm taking it every single day, making sure that no matter what, I'm getting it in. And when I've been 100% consistent like that, my recovery has been better. My performance in the weight room has been better. If I can eke out that extra rep, I can, get more weight on the bar faster than I could beforehand. So there's a huge benefit there. And, it's not just me saying this. You can talk to a lot of people that eat a ton of meat who have noticed that positive difference when they incorporate it. So it's something that I'm really a fan of. And seeing all the research that's been done over the years, that's, almost 100% positive, I feel very comfortable, saying that it's something that most people would benefit from taking. And I mean, to touch on some of the negatives and how ridiculous they are about it is, like you see that hair loss study. I think I'm good on hair.
You're pretty
So
good.
I wouldn't worry about that. That one study was none of the participants even suffered from any hair loss. It was something to do with DHT levels. They were bad controls. They found out that people whose DHT levels rose had lower than average DHT levels to begin with. And it was probably just the working out that raised them to normal rates, which doesn't affect hair loss anyways. And then if creatine did create hair loss through DHT levels, it would affect women more than men because they would be more sensitive to that kind of hormonal change. And we don't see women reporting hair loss from creatine, only men. And the reason it's men is because men are more prone to male pattern baldness. So whether they took the creatine or not, they're going to be losing the hair. And then another thing that has caused all these unfortunate myths of creatine to get out into the open is that creatine became popular in the early 90s, which was also the same time that steroids became very prominent in the NFL and in the MLB. So, when all these guys were getting extremely huge or getting some kind of injury or something was happening, what were they going to point their finger at? The stuff they were taking that was not supposed to be taken? No, they were pointing their finger at the creatine, and then all these myths popped up. So a lot of negativity, all that negativity is false. And don't believe me. I'm just an internet stranger. I encourage everybody to go do their research on their own, and if they're not comfortable, don't take it. But I think a lot of people, once they do their own research and then they start taking a little bit, become very comfortable, and it becomes a part of their routine.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned the research, and it is quite amazing how much research has been done on creatine, by far the most tested supplement out there. And I haven't seen much in the way of negative. I appreciate that you went to, all the positive things you noticed, all the negative things you notice, or people talk about, and that's not really founded by science, which I appreciate. It's cool. The research is also showing really positive effects on mental health as well. I'm not sure if you've come across that work as well, but that's pretty promising.
Yeah, I started to read a little bit into the cognitive benefits. I probably need to do more of that. The reason I haven't is because I don't take it for the cognitive benefits. I take it for the physical benefits as a weightlifter. But seeing this new door opening on research on cognitive benefits of creatine, how it improves brain function and enhances memory, I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, just an added bonus. And I think it also shows how the body and mind work so closely together. So yeah, another point for creatine, and I'm excited to start learning more as more data comes out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so when I ask somebody about creatine or suggest it to add to their what they're doing for nutrition, a lot of pushback I get is people hear that you retain a lot more water, so it gives the muscles the appearance of being bigger, but they're not actually bigger. And for that reason, I get a ton of pushback from women who I'm suggesting to take creatine as well. What do you say to that?
It's not just women, it's men too. I mean, when somebody's goal is to lose weight, and a lot of people are trying to cut even when they should be bulking, they don't want to see the scale go up. And I understand that. It's very psychological, but creatine, it pulls that water on into your muscles. So that's the weight gain that you're seeing. So if you're going to start taking creatine, but you have weight loss on your mind, I would give yourself about a 5-pound buffer, knowing that that's the intramuscular water that you're holding onto. But that's a good thing, because it's showing that your muscles are saturated with the creatine, which is providing all those physical benefits, which are enhancing recovery, which are increasing performance, which is generating more ATP to use inside of your muscles as energy for when you're in the weight room or when you're out performing an athletic activity. So when you're losing weight, remember that you want to look in the mirror, not the scale. Regarding the bloat as well, when people say, oh, I get bloated on creatine, if you ask a lot of people what they're taking, they're not just taking pure creatine. It's some kind of weird proprietary mix. So it's probably not the creatine that's causing that bloat. And then, some people, yeah, they will experience a little bit of bloat there, but that's a very, very small amount of people. And normally it tends to work itself away anyways, and you flush that and only hold that water intramuscularly. Now, I have heard the biggest group of people that will experience bloat is people who do creatine loading, which you don't need to do. And that's just because you're taking such a massive amount in just a short amount of time. And to speak on loading, why some people say you need to do it, why you don't need to do it. If you load up, your muscles are going to saturate sooner. So even though it's not necessary, there is a benefit to it. But if you just take it consistently, I think at about 3.5, 4 weeks is when your muscles hit that full saturation point. And 3.5, 4 weeks is nothing in the grand scheme of things. So if you're worried about bloat, just don't load up on it. Take a clean source, from a brand you can trust. Research the brand. Make sure that it's tested by third-party labs, so you're getting the purest, cleanest creatine you can. And be cognizant of what you look like in the mirror as well. It could just be mental, where now you're paying more attention to yourself and your abs aren't as chiseled as you want them to be or something. So make sure you get a before picture And so that way you can actually have visual evidence of whether you've bloated or not.
Yeah, those are really good tips. And I know on your website, you have written articles about this and what to look for. So I'm assuming we really want to look for creatine, monohydrate, or Creapure. Is that true?
Yeah, so Creapure is a form of creatine monohydrate, but you don't actually buy it from a brand called Creapure. It's a company that's based in Germany that their production line of creatine is, all in-house, and it passes all these different certifications. It's tested by third-party labs, and it's been proven to be the purest, cleanest form of creatine you can get. It comes at a small price premium, which a lot of people are willing to pay. But if you want to save a couple of dollars, you can just find plenty of other brands out there that that are tested by third-party labs, and it'll be just as good for the most part. Just that Creapure gives you that peace of mind. And then I think I forgot to touch on this point where I said Creapure isn't its own brand. They manufacture the creatine, and then they allow other brands to license and use it. So you'll see all these different big name brands out there that sell creatine and advertise, oh, this is Creapure, because they're approved to use the Creapure from the company that's on over in Germany. So it's a pretty cool business model that they have going on. And it's available in a lot of stores, a lot of places online. And yeah, for me, it just gives that great peace of mind that I know I have this clean, pure creatine, and I know that it's untainted.
Yeah, I love that. And again, if somebody has questions, they can just go to your website and find the brand that you like there. It's really cool, by the way. I just have to say, like, all the list of things you post there, including our favorite pan. You and I cook a tremendous amount of fried eggs. And so having fried eggs not stick is really important. So we have the fry pan that you have in there, which is awesome, which we both have, the HexClad, which is amazing, and all kinds of stuff there. I'm really surprised you actually don't have hot sauce. You're wearing the El Yucateco hot sauce. I told you when I saw it, I decided to go out and buy it. And dude, that stuff is spicy, man. This stuff is really hot.
Oh yeah, I love it. But I grew up in San Diego, California, so
There you go.
right near the border there. So we have plenty of great hot sauces, and I love spicy food.
I'll be checking up on your website to see if the hot sauces start popping up there and see what you recommend. Because you've earned a lot of clout with me with all the products you've recommended over the years. And then just
Awesome.
one more thing on creatine. What about protocol? So you talked a little bit about doing just one serving, a serving 5 grams every single day. If you're worried about bloating, we talk about loading. If you want to do 20 grams a day, I believe is the common recommendation for 7 days, and then you back off from there. Timing during the day, does that matter? How do you take it? Like anything practical that people need to know about creatine?
So what's most important is that you take that 5 grams a day daily, and that you do it consistently. That's worry number one. So don't worry about what time of the day you're taking it. Just make sure you're taking it. As far as how I do it, on my lifting days, I take it 30, 45 minutes pre-lift to make sure, it starts assimilating into my muscles for that extra energy, for that, extra rep in the gym. And then on off days, I generally, take it late morning or early afternoon. I don't have a set time that I need to take it. But yeah, that's generally how I do it. 30, 45 minutes before I lift, or around midday on rest days.
Okay, and just mix with water.
I don't say that I dry scoop it. I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression, but I keep things simple, right? So I scoop it, I throw it back, and then I take a sip of water or coffee, swish it around, and throw it back. But yeah, you can mix it with water. You can mix it in coffee. I'd recommend cold coffee if you're doing it. You mix it with just about anything. Some people have complained about the taste, and so to speak on that too. Most forms of creatine monohydrate are also micronized, which means they're smaller, and so they dissolve quicker. And I found that to be like tasteless. So yeah, you can mix it in like anything you want if you have a good clean brand.
That's great. I like the down the hatch approach. That's pretty savage, dude. I like that a lot. Awesome. Okay. Well, we get asked about creatine all the time, so I really appreciate you going into those details. Hard to find consistent information, and yeah, I really appreciate you talking about that.